In this video, entitled mom sells me a broken guitar because her baby can't play it? Why would she work here if she's just gonna act disabled? And give us more money or we'll evict you. Go ahead. Entitled mom sells me a broken guitar because her baby can't play it? This story happened a few years ago while I was living in the East Coast. I was driving back home from a friend's house and decided to take a detour through one of the more nicer neighborhoods because it was the beginning of fall and I'm just a sucker for the scenery. While driving, I just so happened to have found another thing that I go crazy for, a garage sale. With me having some money on hand, I decided that this was fate and pulled over to check it out. At first, I didn't really see anything special, just the kind of stuff you'd expect to see at any garage sale. Old furniture, clothes, DVDs, and other small items. But then in the corner of my eye, I saw something that I just didn't expect to see, a guitar. I went in for a closer look, expecting it to be some kind of cheap beginner guitar, the kind with a brand name you don't recognize. But no, what stood before me was an actual Gibson Les Paul. Side note, to those who don't know, Gibson is a very prestigious guitar brand name, and Les Paul is possibly their most famous model type. This model of guitar is legendary for being the weapon of choice amongst god-level rock stars. Example, Slash from Guns N' Roses, or Ace Frehley from Kiss. Now, back to the story. She was beautiful. And yes, I refer to guitars as she. She was gold in color with white trim and looked kind of old but in really good condition. But what got me in an actual state of shock was the price tag. It said the price was $50. I couldn't help but think that the person selling this forgot to add another zero to the end of the price, as well as a 1 in the beginning. So I picked up the guitar and went up to the woman handling the sale to ask her about it. She didn't really look like a typical entitled parent, but her attitude and body language just radiated entitlement. It was like her aura was almost made out of pure smugness and hatred for the working class. Just by talking to her, I couldn't help but feel that she was the kind of soccer mom that you would expect to yell at the coach, as well as the referee, other parents, and maybe even some kids, but I digress. Me equals me, EM equals entitled mom. Me. Excuse me, ma'am. Can I ask about the guitar? The price says it's $50. Is that correct? EM. Yes, that's correct. Me. Well, that's an unusually good price. Is there a reason for that? EM. Yes, it's broken. I figured someone could use it like a decoration in their man cave or something. Hearing that just broke my heart, but it almost got me curious because I couldn't find anything physically wrong with the guitar. No cracks or any other signs of damage. I started asking more questions, thinking maybe I could fix her later. However, it was at this moment that any and all logic began to die and roll downhill away from me. Me. Can I ask what's wrong with it? EM. Yes, my baby can't play it. Me. Excuse me? Me. My son. He says it's unplayable. Me. Oh, does he work with guitars like a technician or something? Me. Oh no, he can't work. My baby's only 12. Hearing that stunned me for a quick second, but then I decided to give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't know this kid, so maybe he's one of those young musical virtuosos who got accepted into Juilliard early or something. Me. So I take it your son is musically talented? EM. Oh, very much so. He plays that Guitar Hero game all the time. Me. What? EM. Oh, you know, that game where you play music? He's constantly playing that game and is always getting the high score on it. I kept a straight face, but my mind was turning into that meme of the woman trying to do math. Me. So, because of that, you got him a guitar? EM. Well, of course. When you have a child as gifted as mine, it's important that you nurture their gifts. Me. So you think he knows what he's doing? EM. He obviously knows what he's doing, so if he says it's broken, then it's broken. Listening to her talk made my brain hurt, but it also helped me decide to take the chance and buy the guitar. While paying, this woman went on a long, insane rant about how the guitar was actually a gift from the kid's late grandfather from the dad's side of the family, and how he must not like her son because he gave him an old, hand-me-down guitar instead of a brand new one. Hearing all this legitimately upset me, but I just decided to just keep my mouth shut and leave. After getting home, I immediately took the guitar, plugged it it into my amp, retuned her. That was all the maintenance she needed, and played a few notes and chords. To my amazement, she sounded perfect. It felt as if her soul was singing the praises of freedom. I spent the rest of the day playing and tripping out that not only have I purchased my first ever Gibson Les Paul, but I also only paid $50. But the story doesn't end here. A few weeks later, I made a friend at a party who was an actual guitar technician. I told him my story, and he said if I wanted, he could appraise my guitar for me and tell me her true value. I took him up on the offer, and the results blew me away. It turns out my baby was a vintage Les Paul from 1973, retailing at well over $3,000. He then asked me if I were interested in selling, but I told him there was absolutely no way I'm ever letting go of her. But the story still doesn't end here. Shortly after getting my baby appraised, I get word from a friend who, it turns out, works in the same office building with the husband of EM. She updates me about what she learned, and apparently EM's husband is, of course, righteously pissed. It turns out not only did EM sell a very expensive guitar for just $50 that was a gift from his father to her spoiled kid, but she also sold it without him knowing. Not only that, my friend informs me that EM has also been looking for me. My friend tells me that EM wants to find me so she can demand the guitar back. Not offer to buy it or even pay back what I paid. She wants to demand that I give it back for free because apparently I scammed her out of a priceless family heirloom and robbed her child's ability to play music. My friend said that she didn't say anything about her knowing me, but then asked me if I wanted her to say anything to them about who I was. I tell her absolutely not. If she wants a guitar, she can buy a new one with the money I gave her, just like she planned. And I agree that this guitar is a family heirloom. But it's my family heirloom. Why would she work here if she's just gonna act disabled? So, for context, I have a lot of mental issues tied with anxiety and pressure. When I get too overstimulated, I start to twitch, stutter, say intrusive thoughts out loud, hum, and shake. I was currently working at a popular fast food place. Before I had started working, I informed my boss and my managers I'd be working with about this and got permission to listen to music during work since I worked the fry station. The orders on the fry station came up on a little screen, and I didn't really have to communicate with anyone as long as I was fast enough to get the orders through before they needed to ask. Normally, I'd work with a pair of Bluetooth earbuds in, just loud enough to barely hear what was going on, just in case I'd have to listen. However, these two girls I worked near would loudly talk about me, assuming that I couldn't hear. It was the normal stuff that I usually heard at work. Why does she get to listen to music and we don't? She must be that favorite, etc. Classic bitch stuff. One day, however, I realized that I had accidentally left my earbuds at home. My manager that day was really sweet, but we were short-staffed and I didn't want to ask to go home and grab them. I also didn't have the guts to ask anyone if they had something I could borrow, so I decided to toughen it out and work my shift without them. Being in the kitchen without music was loud, and the two girls gossiping really didn't help. I was starting to shake and hum already. However, since this was the first time they had ever gotten to really talk to me during work, they jumped on the opportunity. We had a conversation that went something like this: B1, bitch 1, B2, bitch 2, MA, manager, me. Please keep in mind that I do stutter through this, especially on S and TH sounds. B1, hey, can I ask you a personal question? Me, shoot. B1, what makes you so special that you can listen to music on earbuds, but we can't even play it out loud on our phones? Me, I do fries and don't like talking. You don't do fries and you do like talking. B2, are you saying we talk too much? Me, no, I'm saying I don't like talking and I don't have to talk to you to do my job. B1, I just think it's funny how you get to me, cocksucking whore. B1, excuse me? B2, what did you just call her? MA, she walks in and heard the last bit at this point. Don't mind her, she can't help it. B2, she's never done this before. Look at her. She's acting like this to get out of work early since she doesn't have her special needs music today. MA, that's really uncalled for. Me, wet paint. B1, we just want to know why she would work here if she's just gonna act disabled. Me, I'm a college student on her own. I need a job to get wet paint food. B2, are you just retarded? Why don't you go on disability or something? At this point, my manager gets really mad and yells at them to stop. I'm breathing really heavy and I'm on the verge of a panic attack, so she takes me to the freezer in the back and hands me a bag of liquid ice cream to squish. She leaves and comes back a few minutes later and tells me that I can clock out for the night and not to worry about them. So I do. The next night, I come back and B1 was put on a week-long suspension and B2 was fired as it was her final strike for causing workplace drama. Give us more money or we'll evict you. Go ahead. A few years ago, my best friend and I rented a tiny 2-bedroom flat together. This place was kinda terrible. My friend's room had a hole cut into the wall so the last foot of the bed would fit. This became a mantelpiece in the next room. The kitchen was the size of a child's playhouse kitchen, and the upstairs neighbors spent all hours of the day and night screaming at each other or having loud sex. But we were mostly happy because we were over living with 6+ other people. We had 70 pounds a week each, plus bills for this place, which was pretty standard for a 2-bed flat in our area. Then, 6 months into our 1-year contract, the landlord sold the terraced house our flat, was part of a middle-aged married couple who were first-time landlords. They were the kind of people who thought they were smarter than everybody else, and I got the impression they thought property management was gonna be the easiest thing ever. We had no problem throughout the sale process. We were assured nothing would change. We didn't interact much with the landlord before anyway. Then 2 weeks after the sale, we got an email from the couple saying that we owed them 20 pounds each more a week. Basically, in our contract, it stated our rent was 75 pounds each a week about 10 times, but there was one typo where it said our rent was 95 pounds each, so they said they could legally charge us 95 pounds. We laughed at this, but when it became clear they were serious, we reached out to the letting agent and got them to put it in writing that it was a typo. Our rent was always 75 pounds, and they even gave us the original advert for the flat with the correct rent on it. We thought this would be the end of it. We were wrong. The couple insisted on coming to our flat for an in-person meeting. When they got there, they said that they asked the old landlord about it and he was shocked that we'd not been paying enough for 6 months now and the rent was always 95 pounds. I didn't buy this because they had nothing in writing, but I made the argument that of course he would say that because he wouldn't want it to seem like he sold under false pretenses. And if we'd been underpaying by a total of like 160 pounds a month, why had he never spoken to us about it? They said that he was a busy guy with too many properties. Then the husband spent ages condescendingly explaining mortgages to us. Then they declared that if we do not start paying them the higher rent, they would evict us and we had 24 hours to pay or 30 days to get out, and they left. Honestly, I think they saw 2 22-year-old girls and thought they could scare us into paying more money. What they didn't know is that my friend and I are very pleasant until you piss us off and we become very vindictive. We decided that night that if they wanted to evict us from this shithole, we were gonna make them do it properly, and if they were so pedantic about contracts and rules, we were gonna stop letting anything slide. The couple woke up the next morning with an email from our lawyer, my flatmate's brother, a bored lawyer with time on his hands, requesting a formal eviction notice in writing and laying out a record of last night's conversation. Thing was, they didn't actually have legal grounds to evict us because even if we went to court and a judge favored their interpretation of the contract, we were advised this was unlikely. We still didn't owe them more than a month's rent, which would have been their only legal way of evicting us because we were otherwise great tenants. By 9:15 a.m., they were ringing us, but we ignored them and emailed that our lawyer had advised us to only communicate in writing. We then sent an email informing them that the fancy new front door they just installed could not be unlocked from the inside without a key, which violated fire safety laws, and unfortunately, if this wasn't rectified ASAP, we would have to report it. We then sent texts that showed them repeatedly entering our flat with less than 24 hours notice, and did they know that this was illegal? Maybe we should talk to the other tenants because if they're doing this to everyone, then this could be quite a problem. After about 3 days of this, we received a very nice email saying that they don't agree our rent was supposed to be 75 pounds each a week, but they would graciously allow us to finish out our contract at that rate. By this point, we'd found a flat triple the size for 80 pounds each a week and wanted out of that hamster cage, so we offered to move if they signed mutual surrender forms. They eagerly agreed. The best part was that they stubbornly tried to rent that flat at the higher rate despite us telling them it was a terrible idea, and the flat was empty for over a year, and because they had agreed to end our contract early, they got stuck paying out the council tax, not me.